Hi, Samuel Leeds here, and in this video, I'm going to reveal to you 10 ways, the 10 ways that I get paid from property. So, the first way that I make money from property is through rents. Tenants pay me rent. I know it's kind of obvious, there are 10 ways, but it's really important. You can get more rent through a property by being creative. For instance, by turning it into a HMO. You know, you buy a house and rather than just renting it out to one family, splitting it up, renting it out on a room by room basis, tenants pay me rent. And I see my tenants as my customers. It's really funny actually, because sometimes people will stop me in the street and say, Samuel, I saw you on the BBC Landlord Show. Oh my gosh, can I have your autograph? You're amazing. You're such a nice landlord. You look after your tenants so well. And then 2 minutes later, I'll be continuing to walk down the street and someone will shout out to me, I saw you on that Landlord Show, you scum. And I'm like, wow, where did that come from? It was the same show. It's so crazy, different people's perspectives. But my customers, my tenants, I love them. Rent is fantastic because it's pretty much passive. Well, it is passive if you've got it systemized. So that is number one. Number two is capital appreciation. That's just where the house goes up in value. I mean, I've been in property now for 10 years. I've gone through quite a bad recession and I've still received a lot of capital appreciation. In fact, just in the last 6 months, I've made like £250,000, just under. So almost £250,000 in 6 months, just in capital appreciation. And one of my students, I was chatting with him last week. He bought a house in London. It wasn't even a house, it was an apartment in 1999, right in London Centre for £75,000. And he got it on a 100% mortgage. It's now worth £700,000 18, 19 years later. It's timed itself by 10 in 19 years, which is just insane. So capital appreciation is a really good way that I make money from property. It's how most people become millionaires by mistake. I'm happy to be an accidental millionaire as well as a deliberate millionaire. So that's number two. Number three, and this is different from rent because they're not tenants, but serviced accommodation. Serviced accommodation is like a hotel without staff. So service accommodation property is one where you rent it out as a hotel, but you don't have to employ staff. It's all systemized. It's something that I'm doing a lot at the moment. In fact, the castle that I'm buying is probably going to be done as a luxury serviced accommodation property. And it's just a really good way of getting a sky-high income from property. The cool thing about serviced accommodation is that it's when you systemize it properly and you buy in the right area, it can be extremely lucrative. Multiple of my students are doing serviced accommodation very successfully. If you'd like to watch Leslie's story of how she's making £15,000 a month within 4 months of becoming my student, you can watch that right here. Next way I make money from property is a strategy called rent to rent. This is not something that I actively really look for anymore, but it was quite helpful in the earlier days. It's something that my students do really, really successfully, and I've done many times as well. And that is simply where you take over a property. You don't buy it, you make money from it, but you don't buy it, you control it. So you take over a property and you rent it off the landlord, but then you add value to the tenants and you make it like, for instance, let's say you rent a single let property and you pay £500 to the landlord, but then you rent it out on a room by room basis and rent it out for £1,500. And then any difference, the profit you make, you keep. It's a really cool way to make some instant cash flow from property without really putting any money down or much down to begin with. Rent to rent, really cool, and you can tie that in with HMO, serviced accommodation, or whatever you please. Just make sure if you do that, you use the right contracts. You don't use a normal AST contract, you need a special rent to rent agreement, which you can get drawn up pretty easily for very inexpensive. Number five is my favorite, or one of them, lease option agreements. What is a lease option agreement? It's simply where you buy a house today, but agree to pay for it later. Completely legal when done right. People say, oh, that sounds a bit dodgy. No, if you use the right words, the vendors will go for it. If you do it properly, it's completely legal. Lease option agreements have been around for decades and decades and decades. So how does this work? Let's say I find a house, it's on for £100,000, but they can't sell, they're having issues, they're in negative equity, it's an inherited property, they don't know what to do with it, they're stuck, whatever. I say, I'll buy it off you for 100, but I'll pay you in 5 years' time. And in the meantime, I'll take over the mortgage, or I'll pay you a small monthly sum, maybe £100 a month or whatever. Then you take on the property, you benefit immediately from the cash flow, the rent from the property. You're also gaining from any capital appreciation. And you haven't put down any of your own money apart from maybe the drawing up the contract. So lease option agreements is fantastic. You can also do them for really big deals. It's something that I've done for many, many years, and I'm actively still doing lease option agreements today, and many of my students do lease option agreements as well. So that is number 5. Number 6 is commercial property. Commercial property is something that I'm beginning to get into more these days, and the reason is because what is commercial property? It's instead of buying a residential house and renting out to tenants, people that live there, a commercial property is when you buy a property or a building which is used for commercial purposes. So for instance, if it's a shop, if it's offices, anything, or if it's a garage, anything that's used for business purposes. Now the reason that commercial is so awesome is because instead of having a 6-month contract with a tenant, you tend to have a 10-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year contract with a business. And the business usually, it depends on what the contracts are, but typically with commercial property is the business, they will deal with any repairs, any issues, they will deal with it. It's a very long contract and you can kind of switch off. So when I had my conversation with Lord Sugar, he was like, residential? How do you deal with all the boilers breaking and stuff like that? Because he's used to commercial. So I think commercial is good, especially if you've got lots of money or you've been in residential for a while, you're financially free, and you really want to just really grow your portfolio and take it big, but you don't necessarily want hundreds and hundreds of residential properties. It would make sense to just buy a big office block. Here's the thing, okay, a lot of people think that commercial property, the returns are a lot less, but it's more stable. That's not true. Some of my commercial properties are giving me 24%, so commercial property can still be high return. Capital appreciation is usually not as quick to go up. I don't want to give like tax advice or anything like that, so speak to your accountant, but you can buy commercial property through a pension, and there's very strong tax advantages for buying commercial property, so loving commercial property right now. Number 7 is to buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent. Now, you don't have to quite do it like that, but that's typically the standard way that we do it. What that is if you've got money, but you don't want to put it into a property and just dump it in and leave it in, you can put it in and then pull it back out. Now, some people, some trainers make it sound much simpler than it is. This does come with a little bit of work and even a little bit of risk, because when you're relying on builders sticking to budgets and timescales and valuers being in a good mood, it can always get downvalued or things can always not happen quite the way to plan. However, we have got many of our students doing this successfully that have come through the crash course and especially the ones that have gone on to join the academy. The first house that I bought it below market value, and then I refinanced it and pulled out all of my money. Now that was around about 2008, so it is different now. The best way to do it now is to buy and add value and then refinance. Kent Reliance, a mortgage lender who are very well known and popular amongst investors, have just banned the 6-month rule, which means that you can literally refinance straight away. There's no rule. So as soon as you've bought and added value, you can refinance and pull your money out straight away, which is fantastic. So this is a strategy that's becoming more and more popular with my students. You could literally buy a £50,000 house, spend 20 grand on it or 15 grand on it, and then if the value has gone considerably up, you can refinance and pull all or most of your money out. Or you can do this with, like the castle. The castle that I'm buying, which is, I mentioned a couple of times because it's a castle and you've probably seen the videos, we're going to add value and refinance, and we're going to add value to that by turning it into apartments. You can buy a property and split it up. You can title split, you can refurbish, there's so many ways you can add value. And once you've added the value, then you can refinance. So that's number 7. Number 8, which is kind of similar to number 7, is to buy and sell. Buy a house, add value, and then sell it. At the moment, I'm doing this with a piece of land. I'm buying a piece of land. I bought it for it's not gone through yet, but I'm buying it for £100,000. And then I'm going to get planning permission and sell it for a whole lot more. The problem with buying and selling is that, again, it can come with a little bit of risk, because what happens if you can't sell it? So you usually need an exit strategy or a plan B. And also the other negative with it is that it's not passive income, but it is massive income. And massive income can very quickly become passive income. Because if you do a deal and make 100 grand or $500,000 or whatever, or even 20 grand, you can then, with that profit, put it into just buying a buy-to-let or a HMO or whatever. So it's nice to have 2 oars, massive, passive going on together, which takes me onto the next way. Number 9, which is deal packaging. Deal packaging, what do I mean by that? That is finding property deals that might not be suitable for yourself. You might not be able to afford to buy them. You might already have too many deals going through, but then you package the deal, package it up, and pass it on to an investor. You marry an investment property with an investor and you charge a fee in the middle. It's just a fantastic way to make money, but also get experience of being out there finding deals. I personally think that most investors, I mean, certainly most of my students end up doing this to some extent. Do make sure if you do this, that you do pass only good deals, and also that you're compliant. There is a compliance issue you need to go through, which is very straightforward. One of our Academy members called Alistair, he is sourcing successfully. I did an interview with him last week, which was videoed, and last month he made £27,000. That's right, 27000, just by packaging and passing deals on to people. And he's doing that consistently every month. If you want to hear his story and see how he's doing that, then you can check out the interview with him just right here. But finally is number 10, and this isn't quite how I make money from property, but this is also how I make money, which is from training people how to successfully invest as well. I teach people for free on YouTube. Also, my crash course is free. I have my book, which I give out for free on my website. But then some people want to go further and want to get like maybe mentored or coached. And I also run a training business. I run a very successful property training business. And it kind of shocks me and makes me laugh when people say, if you're such a successful investor and developer, then why do you train people? I'm thinking that came from such a stupid person, or maybe not stupid, but certainly a broke person. I had dinner with Richard Branson, okay, maybe like 6 months ago. Imagine if I'd have said to him, so Richard, if your plane business is making so much money, then why do you run trains? He'd slap me right across the face because he's an entrepreneur, you know? So I love teaching. I really enjoy it. It gives me a real buzz. I love seeing people succeed, and I also will happily take the money because I'm an entrepreneur as well. Money is a certificate, and if someone gives you money, whether that be a tenant or anybody at all in business or someone that you're training, they're giving you money as a thank you certificate for adding value. So I'm very happy to add value and help people and take their money. Because if I've helped someone make £100,000 and they've given me £10,000, then they're £90,000 up and I'm £10,000 up. It's win-win. So that's another way. Hope that video has been helpful. Hope it's inspired you. If you've got questions, let me know. Also, I'd love to know which your favorite strategy is amongst the 10 and which one you want to really smash this next year. So please comment below, what is your favorite property investment strategy, your favorite way to make money? Comment below. Please do share and subscribe, like the video. Thank you for your support. Love you always. See you next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you benefited from that video, please do share it with your family and friends. For more videos like it, you can watch right here. And if you'd like to spend 2 days with me at the Property Investors Crash Course, watch this video, see what happens. But whatever you do, don't forget to subscribe right here, and I'll see you next time.